Okay, welcome to Homework Help for the practice quiz for 6-1 and 6-2. Okay, let's just go through it. I'm going to do all the problems for this one. So for the first one here, we have simplify. We have a fraction to simplify. What you do here is you chop these up, okay, into separate parts here. So this is going to be negative. 10 over 5 is 2. X to the 8th divided by x to the 2nd, you subtract the powers, you get x to the 6th. Y to the 3rd over y to the 1st is y squared. And that is number 1. Number 2, you have stuff to a power. This is the same as writing this 4 times, right? So you have 4 to the 3rds, right? And that would be 8 to the 12th. So basically, when you have, it's called power of a power. You have a to the 3rd, that whole thing to the 4th power, it becomes a to the 3rd to the 4th, like that. And this is b to the negative 2 to the 4th, and this is c to the 10th to the 4th. So basically all of these powers get multiplied by 4. So now you have a to the 12th, b to the negative 8th, and c to the 40th. Now here's the thing, you may not leave any negative powers in your answer, so this needs to be flipped right here. So the a to the 12th and c to the 40th stay on top, but this becomes right here, this becomes the same as 1 over b to the positive 8th, like that. And when you multiply by that, it ends up on the bottom, like this. Okay? So long story short, any negative powers, flip them. If it's negative on the top, flip it to the bottom. If it's negative on the bottom, flip it to the top. All right, number 3. Same thing here. We have all this stuff to the power of negative 2. So 3 to the negative 2, a to the negative 4, and b to the negative 2. Because remember, this is 3 to the 1, and this is b to the 1. So all of these get flipped. So they all end up on the bottom of a fraction. Since there's nothing left at the top, you put a 1 there. This is going to be 3 squared, a to the 4th, b squared. We can simplify the 3 squared to a 9. So we get this. And that's number 3. Number 4. If you're multiplying two things of the same base, what do you do with the powers? Now these are numbers, but think about it for letters. X to the 5th times x to the 4th. What do you do with the powers? You add them. You get x to the 9th. Well, the reason why you add the powers is because the base is the same. This is the base, this is the exponent. Multiplying two things of the same base, you add the powers. Well, here we have two things that are base 8. In other words, 8 is the base, 8 is the base. Same base, just add the powers, and you get 8 to the 12 plus 10 is 22. And don't bother trying to figure out what that is. That's a huge, huge number. And there you go. Okay, number 5. We are going to chop this up, okay? Whether you do it for real or just do it in your mind. And you know, there's nothing down here for the a, so that's just over 1, right? So a to the 4th divided by 1 is just a to the 4th. B squared divided by b to the 4th. Well, 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Okay? C to the 1st divided by c to the 3rd is also c to the 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And d to the 6th divided by d to the 1st is d to the positive 5. Okay? Now, the things that have negative powers have to be addressed. Okay? So, the top, the numbers that are positive powers, they stay where they are. But the stuff with the negative powers gets flipped to the bottom. When they get flipped, their negative powers become positive. And there you go. Okay. This next one, number 6 is for the honors class. Required for the honors class. Once again, you're going to simplify this fraction in the parentheses here. And when I finish simplifying inside, then I'll worry about this negative 3 power outside. So 4 over nothing, which is 1, right? 4. This is going to be x to the negative 4 because 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Y to the 1st divided by y to the 5th, 1 minus 5 is also negative 4. And z to the 5th divided by z to the 1st is z to the positive 4. Because 5 minus 1 is 4. Now, I'm not going to flip yet. Now I'm going to apply this negative 3 power to everything. So this becomes 4 to the negative 3 Negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. So that's going to be x to the positive 12, y to the positive 12, and z to the negative 12. Now you see some things have negative powers, so you need to flip them. So create a fraction. The stuff with the positive powers stay on top. So x to the 12th, y to the 12th stays on top. 4 to the third is a negative power. It's going to get flipped to the bottom, become 4 to the third down here. Now, just because I'm running out of space, what is 4 to the third? It's 64, so go ahead and write it as 64. And then z to the negative 12th, when you flip it to the bottom, becomes z to the positive 12th, and now you're done. Okay, number 7. Good old-fashioned FOIL. Distribute the 2x. What do we get? 2x times 3x. 2 times 3 is 6. X times x is x squared. 2x times 5. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. And there's only one x, so just leave it there. Negative 3 times 3x is negative 9x. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15x. Sorry, negative 15 rather. And now you look at that and say, all right, can I simplify anything before I box my answer? And yeah, these two middle terms are like terms. So 6x squared. 10x minus 9x is 1x. Minus 15. And we're done. Okay, good old-fashioned Algebra 1 FOIL. Okay, this next one is not FOIL, but it is multiplication. But you follow the same pattern. So with number 7, you had a binomial, 2 things times 2 things. And that's when you use that whole first, outside, inside, last stuff. But really, all you're doing is distributing. So distribute the a, 1, 2, 3 times. What do you get? A times a squared, a to the third. A times this thing here, negative 2a squared b, because this a multiplies with this a, and that becomes an a squared, but the rest of it stays, as what it is. And then finally, a times negative b squared is negative ab squared. Now we have to distribute the b, all this stuff here. Okay, so b times a squared, well, it's not ba squared, it has to be alphabetical, so it's plus a squared b. B times negative 2ab. Well, this b will multiply with this b and make this a b squared, so negative 2ab squared. And finally, b times negative b squared is negative b to the third. Now look for like terms in here. In order for these to have like terms, they have to be the same letters with the same powers. So there are no other a cubes here, so leave that alone. Are there any a squared b's here? Yeah, there's an a squared b here, but there's also an a squared b here. You see that? So these are like terms. You have negative 2 of them and positive 1 of them, which leaves you with negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So this is going to be a to the third, but these two, when you add them, gives you minus a squared b, because you have negative 2 of them and positive 1 of them. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1, right there. How about ab squared? Well, we do have an ab squared right here, and we have another ab squared right here, right? So they're both negative 1. No, sorry, they're both negative. This one's negative 1, and this one's negative 2, right? So negative 1 of ab squared and another negative 2 of them, that's a total of negative 3 ab squareds. And finally, we have this lonely b cubed on the end, so just bring them down, and now you're done. That was number 8. Number 9. Number 9, there's a single term in the denominator, which means when you divide, you use the Hart method. You split the fraction. There's one fraction, and there's the other fraction right there, okay? So you're going to split this into 2 fractions and then simplify each one of the fractions, right? So here we go. We have that minus that, okay? Both of them will have the same denominator. All right, and this is what you get. Okay, and in between there's a minus. So all I did there was split the fraction. Okay, put them both over the same denominator. And now we have to do what we did with the first couple of problems, which is chop these up and simplify. So, okay. Now you're going to mentally chop them up. You're not going to physically like I'm doing here, but that's fine. So this is 4. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. Y to the 5th divided by y to the 3rd is y squared, and that one's done. Minus, that's going to be x to the 3rd. 5 minus 2 is 3. And this is going to be y to the 1st divided by y to the 3rd, so y to the negative 2. Now you cannot leave, or you may not leave, a negative exponent here, so this needs to be flipped. So our final answer is going to be 4x squared y squared minus, and now because this has a negative power, this is going to get flipped to the bottom of something. It ends up down here, and this stays on the top. And there's your answer for number 9. All right. Number 10, long division. Long division takes a long time. All right, so here we go. The divisor, the thing on the bottom here, is 2x squared plus x. The dividend is this thing right here. So it's starting with a 4th power. Look for the highest power and make sure you put it first. This is the 4th power, and make sure you have all the powers going down to 0. So you have a 4th power, 3rd power, 2nd power, 1st power, but where's your 0th power? There isn't one. So I'm going to put an extra 0 on the end there to make sure I have all my powers. So here we go. 6x to the 4th, 7x to the 3rd, 12x squared, plus 5x, plus 0. Okay? And let's see if I can make a little more room here. Let's just move that over. Here we go. Okay. Now, we ask ourselves, first term to first term, what would you multiply by 2x squared, this first term, to get this first term? I need a 3. 3 times 2 is 6, right? And I'd also need an x squared. 3x squared times 2x squared is 6x to the 4th when you multiply it back like that. And then you multiply this right here, and you get 3x to the 3rd. Okay, now you subtract. Now subtracting means taking what you have here, changing the signs, flipping the signs, and then adding. Well, that cancels out, and 7x to the 3rd minus 3x to the 3rd is 4x to the 3rd. Once you do that, bring down your next term, which is positive 12x squared, and start the process over again. What would you multiply by 2x squared to get 4x cubed? 2x. 2x times 2x squared is 4x cubed. Okay, let's just move this up a little bit. And 2x times x is 2x squared. Flip the signs, the positives become negatives or vice versa. All right, and now what we have here is these cancel out. And 12x squared minus 2x squared is 10x squared. Bring down the next term and start the process over. What would you multiply by 2x squared to get 10x squared? 5. Right? 5 times 2x squared is 10x squared. And 5 times x is 5x. And now subtract. This will cancel out, so will this. You get a 0, and that means you have a 0 remainder. You didn't actually need this, it turns out, the last one here. But you're done. Okay, and the answer is right here. Okay, that was number 10. Number 11, synthetic division. Synthetic division only works if you're dividing by something in the form x minus c, or if you're in the honors class, ax minus c, but we'll talk about that with the honors question number 12 here. So x minus c, what's your c? Well, just take this and set it equal to 0. X plus 2 equal to 0. When you subtract 2 from both sides, you can see c is negative 2, right? So really, the reason why this is x plus 2 is because it's really x minus c, which is x minus negative 2. That's why it looks like that. But okay, negative 2. Take your negative 2, put it out here as your synthetic divisor, draw your double wide trailer there, and now look at your powers. You're starting at power 5. Make sure you have all your powers going down. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no power at all, 0. So it's all there. Then copy the coefficients into here. Now, if there was a power missing, you'd need to put a 0 in you know, as a placeholder for that missing power. But we don't need to because all of the numbers are here. So 5, 10, -2, -2, 5, and 2. Bring down your first term and start the game. The game is multiply, put your answer here, then add. Multiply, put your answer here, then add until you get to the end here. -2 times 5 is -10. When you add these, you get a 0. -2 times 0 is 0. When you add these, you get -2. -2 times -2 is +4. When you add these, 4 minus 2 is 2. -2 times +2 is -4. 5 plus -4, or 5 minus 4, is 1. -2 times +1 is -2, and these two add together give you 0. So you have a 0 remainder, which means that this is a factor of this thing up here. Now, what do you get for your answer here? Well, we started with the 5th power. When you do synthetic division, you come down exactly 1 power, because this only works if this is x to the 1st power. So you're dividing by 1. So you're subtracting 5 power of 5 minus power of 1, power of 4 minus power. Everything goes down by 1 power. So this was a 5th power. Now it's a 4th power. So this is 5x to the 4th plus no x to the 3rd, rather. So I'm not going to write it. Minus 2x to the 2nd plus 2x plus 1 x to the nothing. And there's no remainder, so there's no need to write a fraction. And there you go. That was 11. Finally, number 12. Now, number 12, you could do by long division, but I'm telling you specifically, do it by synthetic division. Now, it's not in the form of x minus c. It needs to be in the form of x minus c. The only thing you can do is divide this by 2 and this by 2, and now your divisor becomes, 2's cancel out, your divisor becomes x minus 3/2, and that is x minus c. Your c just happens to be 3/2, right? So I told you guys that it's a good idea to set it equal to 0 and then add 3/2 to both sides. Well, there you go. X 3/2 is your divisor. So you have a fraction divisor, and there's your double wide. Okay. Now here's the thing. If you're going to divide the bottom by 2, that makes the fraction different than what it used to be. So you need to balance it out by dividing the top by 2 as well. You have to divide the top and bottom by the same number. So all the numbers on the top you divided by 2 before you copy them here. Now let's just check. Are there any missing powers? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, none. There are no missing powers, so we can just copy them here, but don't forget, divide them all by 2 before you do that. Divide all the coefficients by 2. Like that. So what we get here is 6 for the 5th power, 1, -12, 3/2, -7, and 3. Okay, so let's do this. Bring down your first number and start the game. What's 3/2 times 6? Well, 3 times 6 is 18 divided by 2. 18 over 2 is 9. 1 plus 9 is 10. And then start over. 3/2 times 2. Well, 3 times 10 is 30. Divided by 2 is 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. 3/2 times 3. 9 over 2. 3 over 2 plus 9 over 2 is 12 over 2. 12 over 2 is 6. 3/2 times 6 is 3 times 6, which is 18, divided by 2, which is 9. 9 minus 7 is 2. 3/2 times 2, 3 times 2 is 6, divided by 2 is back to 3. -3 plus 3 is 0. So we have another 0 denominator here. And let's just interpret what the answer is. Now we started with a 5th power, so that means this must be the 4th power right here. So 6x to the 4th plus 10x to the 3rd plus 3x squared plus 6x plus 2x to the nothing. And then if there was a remainder, you'd make a fraction, put your remainder up here and your divisor down here, but we don't have that, so we can just box our answer. And we are done. Good luck on the quiz. See you later.